The mountains are beautiful, but they are not forgiving. Every year, hikers, campers, and families enter the wilderness, never to return. No tracks. No evidence. No answers. Tonight, inside the mystery vault, we open the 411 files and take a deep dive into the chilling cases of those who vanished without a trace in the mountains. Missing in the Mountains, a deep dive into the 411 files. The wilderness. For centuries, it has called to us, a place of beauty, freedom, and escape. Vast landscapes untouched by human hands, stretching beyond the horizon. Millions of people flock to the United States national parks every year to hike, camp, and reconnect with nature. But within this beauty lies danger. Every year, thousands of visitors are reported missing in these parks and forests. Most are eventually found, lost hikers, injuries, or tragic accidents. But hidden among these ordinary cases is a much darker mystery, a series of vanishings that defy logic, explanation, and even the most determined search and rescue efforts. These disappearances would come to be known as the Missing 411 cases, named after the investigations of retired police detective David Paulides. He wasn't searching for legends or ghost stories, he was looking for patterns. And what he found was chilling. Paulides discovered that across America's wilderness areas, there are clusters, strange hot spots where people vanish in ways that cannot be explained. Children vanish within sight of their parents. Experienced hunters, hikers, and even park rangers simply step into the forest and never return. Bodies are sometimes found years later, in places search teams had already scoured. Others are never found at all. I've worked search and rescue for decades. Most cases make sense. Someone slips, gets hypothermia, or is attacked by wildlife. But these are different. They don't fit the usual pattern. The United States has over 85 million acres of protected national park land. These places are breathtaking but also unforgiving. One wrong step can mean the difference between safety and catastrophe. Still, the missing 411 cases suggest that something more is at play than accidents alone. Authorities often explain the disappearances as accidents, wild animal encounters, or poor preparation. And while many vanishings are tragic accidents, the missing 411 cases stand apart because of their strange circumstances. David Paulides, a former police detective, began his investigation after a chance conversation with park rangers who hinted that something strange was happening in the national parks. Intrigued, Paulides filed Freedom of Information requests, only to discover that the National Park Service had no centralized list of missing persons cases. Each park kept its own records, some incomplete or lost altogether. The more Paulides dug, the stranger it became. Why didn't the National Park Service track missing people? Why did some files vanish or remain sealed? And why did so many cases follow the same eerie patterns? This documentary will take you deep into the missing 411 mystery. We will explore the rules, the strange commonalities, the baffling case files, and the unsettling theories that try to explain them. But be warned, the wilderness does not give up its secrets easily. And once you step into the forest, you may not step out again. When David Paulides began studying the disappearances inside America's national parks, he noticed something peculiar. These were not random tragedies. They shared bizarre similarities, patterns that repeated again and again. Paulides came to call them the rules of the mystery. In many cases, people vanish in the blink of an eye. A child playing within sight of their parents. A hiker walking just a few steps ahead of their group. A hunter pausing to tie his boots. In less than a minute, gone. We're not talking about people wandering off for hours. These vanishings happen in moments, under the noses of family and friends. The disappearances aren't evenly spread. They cluster in specific parks and wilderness areas. Yosemite in California. The Great Smoky Mountains along the Tennessee, North Carolina border. The Rocky Mountains of Colorado. These locations repeat across decades, as if certain landscapes are more dangerous or more cursed than others. Often, when bodies are eventually recovered, they are found in places nearly impossible to reach. Steep cliffs, miles from trails, or across rivers children could never cross. Even trained search and rescue teams struggle to explain how victims ended up there. Sometimes, these areas were already searched thoroughly, only for remains to appear there later, as if placed after the fact. Another chilling detail: clothing. In many cases, shoes are missing, yet the feet show no signs of damage. Clothes are found neatly folded or discovered far from where the person disappeared. In cold weather cases, victims are found partially undressed, a phenomenon known as paradoxical undressing from hypothermia, though the locations and circumstances often defy that explanation. Search dogs, usually reliable trackers, often refuse to pursue a scent in these cases. They walk in circles, whine, or simply sit down as if the trail ends abruptly. It's as though the missing person simply vanished. Another pattern: weather. In case after case, storms strike shortly after someone goes missing. Heavy rain, snow, or fog, conditions that erase footprints and hinder search efforts. To many, it feels less like coincidence and more like a force determined to conceal what has happened. Perhaps the most heartbreaking rule involves children. Again and again, toddlers, barely old enough to walk, are found miles from where they disappeared, sometimes at higher elevations, over rivers and terrain they could never navigate. Survival experts agree. It should be impossible. Yet it happens. When you piece these rules together, a disturbing picture emerges. Sudden disappearances. Clusters in strange locations. Unreachable terrain. Missing shoes and folded clothing. Dogs refusing to track. Storms rolling in. And children found far beyond their ability to travel. These are not isolated accidents. They are part of a larger, haunting mystery. And nowhere are these rules more apparent than in the real-life case files. Next, we explore the stories of those who vanished and were never seen again. June 14, 1969. Father's Day weekend in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The Martin family, William, his sons Doug and Dennis, and grandfather Clyde, had chosen Spence Field, a grassy highland clearing, for a weekend camping trip. The day was warm, clear, and perfect for a family outing. But by nightfall, the Martins' youngest son would vanish into history. 6-year-old Dennis, shy but playful, joined his brother and a few other children in a game of hide-and-seek. The plan was simple. Dennis would sneak behind a bush to surprise the adults with a playful jump scare. But when the children ran out to reveal themselves, Dennis never emerged. In just seconds, he was gone. The Martins raised the alarm immediately. Park rangers and volunteers joined the search within hours. Over the next days, the effort would swell into one of the largest search operations in national park history. Hundreds scoured the forests, helicopters swept the skies, and search dogs followed what little scent they could pick up. But the trail ended almost as soon as it began. Rainstorms rolled in that very night, torrential downpours that washed. What happened to Dennis Martin remains one of the most baffling disappearances in U.S. park history. Some suggest he was attacked by a wild animal, a bear or mountain lion. But searchers found no blood, no drag marks, no torn clothing. On the day of the disappearance, another family reported hearing a loud, sickening scream nearby. They claimed to see what looked like a rough figure carrying something red. Dennis's shirt had been bright red. This sighting was never confirmed, but it raised troubling possibilities: human abduction, or something even stranger. Despite the largest search in Smoky Mountain history, Dennis Martin was never seen again. For his family, the pain remains. For researchers, the case fits the eerie rules of the missing 411 phenomenon: sudden disappearance, bad weather, dogs unable to track, and a child gone without a trace. By now, the patterns of the missing 411 cases are clear: sudden disappearances, impossible distances, strange evidence. But what lies behind them? What forces, natural, human, or perhaps something else, could be responsible? In this chapter, we explore the theories, some grounded in reality, others far more unsettling. The first and simplest explanation is nature itself. National parks are wild, unpredictable places. A cougar can drag away prey in silence. A bear attack can scatter remains beyond recognition. Rivers, cliffs, sudden storms, all can turn deadly in seconds. It doesn't take much. One wrong step, and you're in a ravine. One slip, and you're swept downstream. The wilderness is unforgiving. But nature alone cannot explain cases where no blood, clothing, or body is ever found. Nor does it explain children traveling miles through impossible terrain. The natural theory solves some disappearances, but not the strangest ones. Another theory: human predators. Could some disappearances be the result of foul play, abductions, murders, or criminal activity hidden within the vastness of the parks? It's possible. National parks are remote, poorly patrolled, and difficult to search. A skilled predator could exploit that. But in many missing 411 cases, there's no evidence of struggle, no signs of intrusion, no witnesses. It raises the disturbing possibility: if humans are responsible, they may be far better at hiding their crimes than we realize. David Paulides discovered that the National Park Service does not keep a centralized database of missing persons. Each park tracks cases differently, if at all. When Paulides requested official records, he was told it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to compile them. Why the resistance? Why no national record of the vanished? To some, it suggests negligence. To others, a deliberate cover-up. If the government knows more than it reveals, the question is, why keep it hidden? Beyond the natural and the human lies the unknown. For some, the missing 411 cases point to forces outside our understanding. These ideas may sound extreme, but when you've eliminated the ordinary, the extraordinary is all that remains. Some explanations come from the human mind itself. Hypothermia can cause paradoxical undressing. Medical emergencies like strokes or dementia can disorient victims. Panic can drive people into deadly mistakes. But again, not every case fits. Natural forces, human predators, government secrecy, paranormal possibilities, psychological breakdowns. Each theory answers some questions, but leaves others untouched. And so the mystery remains. For the families of the missing, theories are not enough. They want answers. But in the halls of the national parks, there is only silence. For decades, families have searched for answers. Search and rescue teams have combed forests, scaled cliffs, and waded rivers. But when the dust settles, when the helicopters leave, when the volunteers go home, the families of the missing are left with only silence. When David Paulides began investigating these cases, he assumed the National Park Service kept records of missing persons. After all, airlines track lost luggage, hospitals track patients, surely the parks tracked the vanished. But to his shock, he was told no such database existed. Each park kept its own files, if they kept them at all. Some records were incomplete, others missing altogether. When Paulides requested a list of all missing persons in Yosemite National Park, he was told the request would cost $34,000. A nationwide request? Over $1 million. The message was clear: these records would not come easily. For the families, the frustration is unbearable. Many are told their loved ones simply got lost. Others are told to stop asking questions. Years later, they are no closer to answers than the day of the disappearance. We don't want conspiracy theories. We just want the truth. What happened? Where is our child? Why won't anyone help us? Why does the government resist compiling this data? Officials claim it is a matter of resources, of bureaucracy. Some suggest liability, that revealing the true number of disappearances could harm tourism and shake public trust. Others whisper darker explanations, that the authorities know more than they admit, and that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Either way, the effect is the same. A wall of silence that keeps families in the dark and leaves the rest of us wondering what really happens in the wilderness. Every year, new names are added to the list of the missing. For most, there is closure, rescue, recovery, or answers. But for a select few, there is only the silence of the parks. A silence that stretches for decades. A silence that holds its secrets tightly, refusing to let go. The families want closure. The public wants answers. But the wilderness has none to give. And the officials who could shed light remain silent. The wilderness is both beautiful and merciless. For centuries, people have entered its depths seeking freedom, adventure, and escape. Most return. Some do not. And for a mysterious few, their stories end not with discovery, but with disappearance. The missing 411 cases are not isolated. They form patterns, clusters, spread across America's wildest places. They follow strange rules. Victims vanish near water, near granite, near sudden weather shifts. Children vanish, only to be found miles away across impossible terrain. Some are never found at all. The vanishings remind us of a simple truth. The wilderness does not belong to us. It is older, deeper, and more powerful than we are. For all our technology, our maps, our satellites, there are still places where people can disappear without a trace. Perhaps the real lesson of the missing 411 is not just fear, but humility. The understanding that some mysteries remain unsolved not because we lack evidence, but because we are not yet ready to see the answer. For the families, the pain never ends. The unanswered questions weigh on them every day. But their stories, their losses, are not just tragedies. They are warnings to respect the wilderness, to prepare, to watch closely, and to remember those who never came home. The vanishings of the national parks remain unsolved. Some blame nature. Others blame predators, conspiracies, or forces we cannot name. But one truth remains. When you step into the wild, you step into the unknown. And sometimes the unknown does not let go. Yet out of these mysteries comes a lesson, a warning for every parent, every rescuer, every leader, and every community touched by the wilderness. What can we learn from these tragedies to prevent the next name from being added to the list of the missing? Parents and caregivers. The most heartbreaking cases often involve children who vanish within seconds, sometimes in plain sight. Years later, these cases highlight where negligence, Even innocent, unintentional lapses may have played a role. Common negligence issues: leaving children unattended near water or trails, allowing children to wander ahead without supervision, assuming familiar places like a family campground are automatically safe.
Example:
Dennis Martin, 1969, vanished in the Smoky Mountains while playing hide-and-seek with family. He disappeared in less than 5 minutes. The family assumed the area was safe because they were together in daylight. Advice for parents and caregivers: constant supervision. Never assume short distance equals safe. In wilderness areas, children should always remain within arm's reach or direct line of sight. Bright clothing: dress children in high-visibility colors, orange, red, neon. Most missing cases involve kids wearing natural or camouflaged colors that blend into the terrain. Emergency drills: teach children what to do if lost. Stop moving, blow a whistle, and stay put. Technology aids: consider GPS trackers or smart wearables for children on hikes. Negligence does not mean carelessness out of malice, but failing to anticipate how quickly accidents can happen in wilderness conditions. Law enforcement and search and rescue teams. Law enforcement has often faced criticism for delayed response times or poor coordination in national park vanishings. In some cases, crucial hours were lost. Negligence and challenges. Failure to seal off search areas quickly can allow evidence to be trampled or destroyed. A lack of centralized missing persons data in the National Park Service makes tracking patterns nearly impossible. Some SCR, search and rescue, operations stop too early, leaving families with no closure. Example: Stacey Harris, 1981, disappeared from Yosemite. Search and rescue teams deployed quickly, but the case was dropped without full resolution. No trace of her has ever been found. Advice for law enforcement and SAR: immediate action. Treat every disappearance as urgent, even if the missing person is presumed lost, not abducted. Centralized database. Push for nationwide missing person records across all national parks. Patterns may only emerge when data is unified. Transparency with families. Families often report being kept in the dark. More open communication builds trust. Use of drones and tech. Modern thermal drones, satellite imaging, and scent detection AI can improve searches drastically compared to older methods. Religious and community leaders. Years later, many families of the vanished still live with grief, guilt, and unanswered questions. In many communities, religious leaders or community mentors are the only ongoing source of comfort. Negligence in community support. Failing to provide long-term emotional and spiritual support after the media leaves. Minimizing the family's experience by blaming them or dismissing the loss as fate. Advice for religious/community leaders. Compassion over judgment. Avoid statements that imply negligence. If only you had watched your child better. Families already carry unbearable guilt. A long-term support. hold vigils, memorials, or yearly remembrances, not just immediate condolences. A practical help: assist families with fundraising for private searches, or provide counseling referrals. Hope with realism: offer comfort rooted in faith, but acknowledge the pain of uncertainty. Many families struggle more with the unknown than with confirmed loss. Example: some churches in communities near Yosemite and Smoky Mountains still hold annual remembrance services for children lost decades ago. This keeps families from feeling abandoned. Business owners, tourism, lodging, outfitters. Tourism is the lifeblood of many national park communities. Yet business owners have a responsibility to balance profits with safety. Negligence risks: prioritizing tourism over safety information. Failing to warn guests about known risks, wildlife, flash floods, trail dangers. Not training staff in basic emergency response. Example: in Colorado, after the disappearance of Jared Atadero, 1999, who wandered away from a guided group, the outfitting company faced criticism for inadequate supervision of children. Advice for business owners: transparent warnings. Provide clear safety briefings to guests, even if it scares tourists. Informed visitors are safer. Staff training: train employees in CPR, first aid, and emergency evacuation procedures. Partner with SAR. Hotels, lodges, and outfitters can collaborate with local SAR units to respond faster in emergencies. Technology investment: offer rental GPS trackers or emergency beacon devices for visitors. This small service could save lives. Final reflection: years later, the missing 411 cases still haunt us. Many vanishings could not have been prevented, but some may have been avoided with better supervision, faster law enforcement response, stronger community support, and greater responsibility from businesses. The mystery may never be fully solved. But negligence, whether from a parent letting a child wander, an agency refusing to release data, or a company failing to warn tourists, only adds more names to the list of the missing. The lesson for every group is clear: respect the wilderness.
Prepare for the worst.
Never assume it won't happen here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and got something valuable or entertaining out of it. Don't forget to support the channel. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll never miss a new upload. Thumbs up, we are sure you liked this video. Give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps us reach more people and grow our community. Stick around, because there's plenty more exciting, inspiring, and entertaining content coming your way, just one click away. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to bring you the next video. Thank you again for being here. Folded hands.